Okay, I'm going to show you some other methods for fabricating. So if you have a larger puppet and maybe you don't want to use the thicker and more expensive Magic Sculpt to stiffen up the arms, I have some other foam. This is a thicker foam you'd see like on the flooring for a gym or exercise room, things like that. This is also the EVA foam. This is the cosplay foam that we have access to. So you can actually cut these strips in two halves and put some either spray mount is the weakest. You can use the Barge all-purpose cement. I have the air dryer here, so we're going to apply these and sandwich the skeleton in between. Also for the chest, rather than maybe sculpting out, some sort of anatomical, maybe you have a big plushy toy type chest. So in order to do that, I'm going to get this a big square of this, and I'm going to put the barges on each side and connect it. And remember, you want to keep whatever you want on the shoulders, you got to keep that area free. So if I want this to be a wider chest area and not so long on the arms, I'm just going to bring this out some more and up. And right there where that bend is, I'm going to bring that out and up. And this is just a sample, so I don't have a drawing for this armature. This is just an extra one I had. There we go. And that way the shoulders can still go forward and backward out here. There we go. And then if I wanted to have a bigger head, I would just take this and just uncoil my little light bulb shape a little bit. Bring that hoop out. There we go. Same thing, kind of realign. And you can see down here in the hips, this is an old armature I had built for just a maquette for just a sculpture. It wasn't meant to be posed as a stop motion. So you see the legs are really long and wide there, so I can kind of bring that out. And several of you have characters like that. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm actually cut a big square of this and put that on there. And that way it'll be pretty stiff, but it'll still rotate. So I'm going to take this piece here for the pelvis down below, and I'm just going to cut a piece to go across right there. So when you're cutting with the knife, it'll rip and tear if the blade is dull. So I'm just going to kind of cut, and you want to like almost saw through as needed as I'm pressing. And get to the end. So let the blade kind of do its work. If it doesn't go through the first time, go back through, and then it's just a little thin piece. And just try and get a little bit easier, better contact if you're a little stronger to cut. So that should be wide enough. And then I'm going to cut two halves here. So one, then two. There we go. Okay, so this should, I'm not too worried about this texture part because I'm going to cover that with the squishier foam, right? So you want something solid to, grab your puppet by. You want to be able to grab this and squeeze. So to that end here, here we go. Use that one, and then I want to make sure I want to leave space, and that should go pretty well across the chest, like so. Maybe I'll need to get some extra foam. Okay, so I just got an extra wedge foam. So got the hips right there, and I can always carve these down, shape them a bit more. There we go. It's going to be a very wide-hipped character. There we go. And I want to choose the smooth side to adhere. And I put the cement or the spray mount on there. And I think if we're going to do this for the pelvis and rib cage, we do want to use a stronger barge, and we do want to make sure it's good and dry. So try and bring an extra hair dryer with you. We have a few at the campus, but it's good to have a couple other floaters laying around. I think everyone's has like an old extra hair dryer they don't use. At least you can maybe get your hands on one. Okay, so gonna go in here and just kind of mark where this is gonna go. Take my Dremel and we could just kind of make a channel through there. Let me mark this with a Sharpie so you guys can see. Okay, so I just grab my Sharpie and I'm just gonna do one side to make life a little easier. I could do both sides if you needed to kind of countersink this and fit these evenly. So for this one, I think I want the butt to stick out farther, so I'm going to carve in on the front side of it. So just remember this foam's going to go on the front, not the back. So if I needed to, I could flip this around face down. There we go, just like that. And I'll make a little trace of silhouette. There we go. Doo-doo-doo. Looks good. Okay. And when you're using this, just be really careful. Remember the bit rotates forward clockwise, so be really respectful of the blade. Keep your fingers, any loose clothing, gear, hair away from it. And I'm gonna carve in a channel. Oh, yeah, it's a little fine powder. Keep my fingers away from there. Lead by example, right? Flat. There it goes. And this part here might be a little thicker, so maybe a little slower if that matters. No, yeah. And as you can see, the way it's digging in here, you can actually sculpt pretty awesome shapes with this stuff. And with the, you can do the EZA foam and the cosplay. I'll show you the Evil Ted website and some other resources you might want to consider. Ooh, yeah, it'll catch and jump on you, so just watch yourself. There you go. Okay, and then maybe for this thicker part right here, you see that should be fine for the a lot of where the wire's going. This thicker part up here, maybe for that I can go ahead and countersink maybe the other side as well. So I'll just take this piece here, bring it around the other side. Let's see, it goes this way. Yeah, just make sure it's setting on there properly. Take that off, grab the pen, and let's go ahead and just even that up and trace this as well. Just creating a groove for it, right? And so for that one, front and back, I'm going to go ahead and use my carpenter's blade here. Utility knife, carpenter's blade. I'm going to carve that away. Get that piece out. And again, being careful not to go all the way through. Don't, whatever you do, don't go into the table. Right, there we go. It's getting clear. And I think for the bottom here, what's thicker, it looks like if this is a kind of a poorly designed armature, I'm going to be carved down in here a little deeper for where the twist of the armature wire is thicker. So there we go. That's fitting quite nicely so far. And then we got to do this other side too. And you don't want it to press up. If there's space in there, it's going to press and it could unbind over time. So be certain that um, it's set in there a little deeper maybe than it needs to be. You can always fill that space with adhesive if you need to, right? And just being really careful here. I don't try to cut away from my, I don't want to cut towards your flesh. Are you doing this? There we go. Cut out another little groove and sandwich that together. It's looking pretty darn good. Well, looks like this piece needs a little bit taken out. So maybe I'll just cut like a little V here instead of using that burr piece. So there's a different bit that I want to get for that. So same thing, I'm just gonna like saw at one angle and then go back the other angle at a diagonal, and that should cut a nice little groove through the foam for you. Go. And yeah, cutting foam with a razor knife is a job these days. All those awesome cosplay suits you see in, not all, but awful lot of them you see down at Comic-Con are done with foam, this type of foam. So foam fabrication is a career now. It's pretty awesome. So I hope to see some of you really take off with this and maybe make something more than just the stop motion puppets, but you could fabricate dang near anything with the foam. So there we go. That's in there, nice and strong. Take this side, sandwich, and now we have a good strong fit. Okay, take the two halves here and take my barges. And whoa, it kind of gooed out there. There's a little pressure. So be careful with this stuff. Don't get it all over. So I'm just going to kind of spread some of it on there. And I just have some stick or whatever. I'm going to get it down into the grooves. Kind of spread it all around the surface. Make sure you're going all the way out. Remember, wipe away at the edges, not back against the edges so you don't feel like a bead there. And if you need to, of course, you could also make sure you're in a ventilated place. Should be okay at school. And make sure that if you need to wear gloves, if you're not the careful type, some gloves on as you're doing this. And it soaks in there pretty good. Wipe any excess away. You want to contact, you don't want it to pool. You don't want it to pull up at all. Do a little dab. And down the grooves again. And smear it around. Don't use a paintbrush for this because it'll just ruins a paintbrush right away. So even if it's a super cheap brush, it's like, just use a stick. Because you can reuse the stick after you're done, after it dries for a bit. All right, there we go. Yeah, any pools, any thicker pools, again, wipe them down. Because the contact, you want the surface to contact all the way with um, the other surface. It's the two sides, right, that we want. Okay, and then I'll put some on here. So it's face down. I know this isn't going to touch anything, so I'm going to be really careful this time as I take the lid off. It was a brand new lid. It had a bit of pressure in there. So I'm just going to dab some on my stick here a little bit like that. A little stringy. And make sure I'm kind of getting some on the torso and thighs. There we go. A little more again. Aha! Strings are going everywhere. Oh no. Ah. And I should have my newspaper rather than the cutting mat as well. Don't get this stuff on your good cutting mats at school. Um, okay, that should be all right. Where's my newspaper? There's some newspapers over there. And then this could drip while it's sitting there. I just pressed it just barely and it went gooping out. Okay. And So yeah, newspaper, great invention. I'm gonna just grab my air dryer, make sure it's untangled. Make sure you're blowing, check your area before you do this. And just a little heat, heat this up. Otherwise it takes about, I think it says dry time like 15 minutes, but the air dryer accelerates it straightly. Just took a minute or so. Make sure any glistening parts are no longer glistening wet. You can see what might have pulled up in there. Okay. Should be good enough. And I forget which one was the front and back. I usually mark them. I think the grooves that I did deeper were the was for the front. So there we go. Very carefully align this and then press, and you'll see it immediately bound to the barges that was on the armature. Take this part here. Then I like to start off like on an edge, like if you have a long straight edge here, like that, to press those edges together first. Because once it starts sticking, it's really strong. This ain't coming off easy. And there we go. Got a giant hips character. Yeah, and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Press all parts nice and strong in there, and that is pretty darn good. It's moving in the channel a lot in here, so I'll have to make a choice. Maybe we do put some steel stick or magic sculpt at the base here, so it's like if it's bending inside of the foam too much, back and forth, that might break free over time. But this saves a lot of this save you a lot of time and energy. So in terms of doing this for big space, for big area, right? So get this other one here, and again, watch your barges on your mat and cutting tool. So I'll go over here, the chest, making sure again I have room for the shoulders to move outside of there. So let's go in just a tiny bit smaller. Should be good. And I cut another piece. Let's see, where did I put the other piece? All right, so here's the other mat piece. And I can just use this, use the other piece as a template to cut. And I pulled a little too fast there, so it's going to rip. So I'll show you, like if I slow it down a little and saw, there we go. Get a much nicer cut than if I pulled really hard and it tore. So there we go. Two different ones, that's okay. As long as the back is the part we care about. And if you want this to seal up so that it's open foam, we could also take the, instead of just the hair dryer, we take the heat gun to it and heat this up and see if it will seal up the cells. Okay, so I went and got the heat gun, put this on high. Just kind of make sure stuff's dangerous, make sure I aim it away from anything. And yeah, there it goes. This kind of seals up the side. And it also makes it flexible if you need to bend or shape this. This particular, this is the Athletic cushion foam. Let's see if it does anything to the other side there. Aiming away from my fingers, right? Yeah, I can see it heating up. Okay. Here's the actual EVA foam. There it goes. You can see the color change in the light. So yeah, it works really well for this one. This one now is this is from the professional, more expensive, of course. But yeah, that this thinner foam here, the motion is going to really let you shape it and flex it before it cools, and it'll keep it shaped pretty well. So you have upholstery foam, you have athletic wrap foam, you have flooring, um, gym or playground little wedge forms. That's a diamond plate pattern on it, and then you have actual EVA foam, open cell foam, which is meant to be used for this purpose. So we're kind of repurposing these three, but the EVA foam I have scraps of. This one's really nice. You can carve and shape and actually sculpt that kind of foam. All right, so let's go ahead and do the chest region. So I have the little X there. Let's use this one so you can see a little bit better. There we go. And even this character up. Looks like it got tilted a little crooked. That nagging feeling. I hit the stop button. I'm recording for some reason. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's good. So this one is a bit more steel stick in there. Now I could put, if I really want this to lock tight in there, I could also use the JB Quick. It's gooey, it's messy, it takes a while to dry. Um, the barges that we put in there is meant, this could be flexed still. Let's see, just pretty cool. So you decide if you want, where you want your puppet to still flex or not. And I'll just do the same on both sides. I don't think it's gonna matter too much. We'll do back. Let's flip this over. Why not do it the right way? Huh? And go. Back, and this is the front. Oops. F and B. All right. Let's do it. All right. Carve at a diagonal. Saw a little as I go. Watching my fingers very carefully. Trying to cut all the way through. And then the other side. There we go. And then the other way. Here it's moving a lot, so I'm just gonna take my time. This is where having my smaller X-Acto blade comes in handy. Let's see this one. I think I got like a super cheapy one at Harbor Freight, and it's so cheap. I think it was falling apart as I was using it. So watch out for. Yeah, and you can even get this. Like this doesn't need to be pretty. Like you want to keep the contact surfaces nice and flat, but this groove where we're going in here, it's I don't think it matters too much, and you're definitely never going to see it. That's the other thing. So there we go. So this is the back, and yeah, I need to carve some more. I would carve more from the front actually, because you want to press in more, right? You want the front of the chest to have more of a. Oh yeah, this one cuts better. Might have been the type of foam too. Oh wow. Okay, it might be the way I'm cutting too. So. And you have so many great puppet designs. There's so much to learn. Like each of your puppets, you kind of problem solve. So there's a lot that goes into this. You're learning to problem solve, like which tool, which material, which one's got the right flexibility, which one has the look that you want. There's all these questions that you're answering while doing this. So it's really should hopefully you're all enjoying the learning process. And it could be frustrating, to not know, but I embrace that for sure. This makes it fun. There we go. So that now embeds a cavity there. Take the back and see how well those squeeze together. Not too bad. Still a little bit of pressing still going on there. Right, I can see from the top view here. Yeah, it's mostly coming from the back. I think right up here at the neck too. Actually, so I'll get my Dremel out. Again, it'll catch and it'll jump on, so be really careful with this tool. It is a massive skin remover that will take large chunks out of your body if it don't too fast. Just put that away from my fingers. I've had a lot of close calls with this tool, so I'm patient and not being as careful as it should be. Okay, so there's the front again. So yeah, that neck was sticking out forward more there, so I didn't really, wasn't paying attention close up. But yeah, there goes. The channel's now much better. Okay, pretty happy with that. That's gonna work. So we could get the JB Well, JB Quick. As again, this leaves a fine powder, so you don't really want to get this fine powder inside your glue or adhesives or your final design. So kind of move that to the side. See how strong this barge is. Um, get my adhesive paper back out. There we go. And pull out the barges, front and the back. Okay, there we go. Being extra careful. Watch out these full tubes. Super gooey. Mm, just kind of rub it all over. You want a little tiny thin coat on all parts of the surface. And then if there's excess, just take it over to the next one. There we go. Set that over here. And even if it's coming out, geez. Oh yeah, there was some on the stick already, right? So that makes this now. The dried stuff on the stick previously makes the stick now a prime candidate for adhesion. So just got to kind of be aware of that. Yeah, it brings up the dye too and the ink. Should be wearing gloves, but I'm not. Sure. Critiquing my steps, yes, you are correct. Yeah, see now it's stuck to me. Oh no, it's so sticky. Look at that, it's all stringy, it's stuck to the back of that too. It's barely touched it. All right, so yeah, let's get some on the chest here. So put a nice healthy amount. So hopefully that's all that I will need. We shall see. go. And a little more out in the sides and the arms. Forgot about that. So maybe I'll need a little more out on the metal part because it can move inside. So I'm not too worried about it for this demo. If I was worried about it wiggling around inside the foam, then I would use the JB Quick JB Weld to do this part. But yeah, as you can see, I'm not too worried about it. All right, should be good. Make sure that everything's in a safe spot. I could always bend this up off the table a little. Okay, get the hair dryer. These ones are already just about dry. I'm not even doing like a film minute on each of these pieces. Not timing it, but it feels like maybe 30 seconds. Those wonders. And I thought we got the less toxic. This is a toluene free formula. Um, so I wouldn't say this is non-toxic, but it's definitely less toxic, low toxicity compared to some of the last years. Like the full barges, the shoe stuff, that stuff's gnarly. You know, we were doing hearing that stuff all day. This is the one I did most recently. So now, if you put too much on, you actually make it weaker. So I see it's got a pool of it on there. Make sure you've gotten it laid out nice. Maybe that's not going to be much help, but yeah, if I saw the pools of it, it's like, oh, I've done it before, and it just comes up because it needs to bond the two sides together. The bonding the steel stick and armature wire to the foam and the foam to itself. It's like that creates a chemical reaction between the two sides, which enables those contacts to happen. So, okay, should be good. So that's facing forward. So I'm just going to grab my back side that I had on here. Actually, let's do the front one first because that one had the most cavity. There it goes all the way through. Nice. That worked pretty well. And the back. Oops. Oh, yeah, once it grabs, messed up. I should have put the edge on first carefully like I did this. I had to kind of push it into shape. But yeah, once it grabs, it grabs. It ain't going to let go very easy. Sweet. All right. We now have a little chunky hipped puppet to play around with. And as I'm doing this, this goes up on the sides there. Let's see, where's my big scissors or blade? So I'll take my little adhesive newspaper, make sure I'm keeping that safe off to the sides. And if I need to kind of shape this some more, I can. Making sure I'm being careful not to cut through the armature. So do it now while you remember exactly where the armature is underneath. It's probably a good idea. Okay, and then looks like, yeah, looks like the two sides of the arms are not quite even. So that is how you build a pelvis rib cage alternative for thicker, plushier toys with thicker EVA foam or kind of athletic mat foam. And it's actually really strong and super lightweight and way cheaper than the Magic Sculpt. So let's see how we now layer this up.